Welcome to the Fairfield Monday, December 4th, 2023 Planning Board meeting. We do have a quorum. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Has all of you had a chance to read the minutes from the November 6th, 14th, and 27th? Are there any discussions or issues with them? I have a motion to accept them as written. Second?
I'll second that.
Accepted. We have the first for public hearings. We have a public hearing for Troy and Sherry Blodgett. Is someone here that would like to discuss that and update us?
Hi, my name's Troy Blodgett. This is my wife, Sherry. And thank you for hearing us tonight. I built a house back in 2000, and so 23 years ago, I built a house for my two aunts. They were struggling with rent, and so I come from a building construction background, so I actually teach. And so I built them a house just so rent wouldn't change. And at the time, I separated the land with Picket Land Surveying, and I handed out some paperwork. I was only in my 20s, so apparently it was not registered at the deed, and so I wasn't made aware of that, or I would never go to the registered deed and look for that, because the town map had the 5 acres separated on it, and I was paying 5 acres tax on that piece of property at 15 Bigelow Hill Road. The last 3 years, we've had the unfortunate, my two aunts have moved into a nursing home, and then I had built a house in 2013 for my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and she passed away as well. And so they didn't need the house, so I sold the 19 Bigelow Hill. That house was, both homes were built. And so when I went to sell the 15 Bigelow Hill, it was brought to my attention, the buyer's lawyer brought to my attention that he felt that it needed to be a subdivision because I was selling it from a large parcel, and he did not see that 5 acres that I had separated 23 years ago. So I'm here to do an after-the-fact subdivision or minor subdivision so that I can just clarify this with the lawyer, and that way the home buyer can get Title I insurance on the home.
Is there anybody in the public that has any comments or questions concerning this? If I don't hear any, we'll close that one.
Okay.
Public. Now we'll open up another public one for Echo Property. Is there someone here that wants to speak about that one?
Good evening. Ted Mitchell with Echo Property Management. We've submitted an application for a minor subdivision off Old County Road. We presented it as Edward Court. We've worked with Nicole quite a bit and feel that we've provided and met all the criteria for said minor subdivision, and looking forward to hopefully moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the public that has anything, questions for him or concerns? Hearing none, I'll close that one. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Unfinished business, there is none. Now, for new business. And this is, everything's closed to the public now. The new business, Bean. for the subdivision on 306 Ridge Road.
He should be joining us via Zoom. Chad, do you have?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, Lesker. If you want to explain to them what it is that you're asking, or you want me to give a brief introduction to it.
You're more than welcome. You're probably better at it than I am.
Okay. So in 1990, this land was owned by a previous owner, not Mr. Bean, and it became a 3-lot subdivision by Chinook. So it was Lot A, B, and C. The water company had a large holding at the top of that hill. So Mr. Bean was not aware when he purchased his land that this was part of a subdivision, and so he further subdivided Lot A, and the deed was drawn up and done 5 years ago. So that's what you're seeing in front of you today, is to clean up the clerical error of further splitting Lot A. It has to be approved by the planning board. So his surveyor has drawn, he has the correct frontage. The second house has their own septic well, their own driveway, and that boundary was drawn 5 years ago, and a deed drawn up and filed with the Registry of Deeds. So this is in front of you to further divide Lot A. Does that about sum it up, Lesker?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Does anyone on the planning board have any questions or concerns about this?
A quick question that I think you touched on, Nicole, but the map that we have doesn't indicate that there's a private well for each property. Is that the case, Lesker, that there's 2
Yes.
separate wells? Okay.
Yeah, I had a well put in, 12, 13 years ago.
Anyone else?
I lost your picture. Oh, there we go.
So now I go through finding the facts, correct, Nicole?
If you have no other questions and you want to move ahead with that.
I think it's pretty straightforward. There's already a house built on
It's already
the
done,
parcel.
it's kind of after the fact.
The neighbors have lived with it. So,
All right. So we'll go to the finding the facts. The owner of the property is Lesker Bean. The applicant is Lesker Bean, who has demonstrated legal interest in the property. By
Yes.
the deed in book 2793, page 87, May 14th, 2001. Property is located at 306 Ridge Road. I read that one. That's the map 4, lot 32, contains 5.74 acres. The property is not located in a shoreline zone. The property is not in a flood zone. The applicant proposes to split Lot A into 2 lots, 304 Ridge Road containing 2.07 acres, and 306 Ridge Road containing 3.67 acres. The completed plan applicant was submitted on 11/20/2023. Public hearing was held tonight. The water is to be supplied by private well existing. It doesn't say separate ones, but it does have separate ones.
correct.
The sewage is to be disposed by private septic systems existing. Site elevations, non-applicable. Stormwater, non-applicable. Pollution is non-applicable. Sufficient water. The proposed subdivision has sufficient water available for the reasonable foreseeable needs for the subdivision. Municipal water supply is not applicable. They have wells. Erosion is not applicable. Traffic. The proposed subdivision is not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the highways or public roads existing or proposed. The parcel is already developed and in use. No additional entrances are proposed. Sewage disposal is not applicable. Municipal solid waste disposal. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality's ability to dispose of solid waste if municipal services are to be utilized. Authentic culture or natural resource values. The proposed subdivision will not have any undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area. Authentic historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, or the municipality, or rare and irreplaceable natural areas, or any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline. Conformity to local ordinances and plans. The proposed subdivision conforms with a duly adopted subdivision regulation or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan, if any. In making this determination, the planning board has interpreted these ordinances and plans. Yes, the land use residential district, 10-foot side setback to structures and 25-foot back from the frontage and 150 feet from road frontage. Financial, technical capacity. The subdivider has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this section. Property is already developed. Surface water is non-applicable, groundwater is non-applicable, flood area is non-applicable, freshwater wetlands non-applicable, river, stream, and brook non-applicable. Stormwater is non-applicable. Spaghetti lots prohibited is non-applicable. Lake porous concentration is non-applicable. Municipal boundaries is non-applicable. Liquidation harvesting.
That's not applicable either.
It is, okay, I didn't see that. Standards for the town subdivision ordinance have been met except for the following. There are no terms ordinances that's not met. Now do I get a vote from the board?
Make a motion that we proceed with approving the subdivision amendment as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Accepted.
Okay, that was the vote, all four? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Lesker. You can pick that up tomorrow, signed at my office, and take it to the Registry of Deeds to file, please.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you much, everyone.
Thank you. Welcome. You have to bear with me, I'm new at this. I'm kind of a fill-in.
You're doing good.
The next one is Troy and Cindy Pelagia. And all we're gonna do now is just go through the finding of facts. But you guys have anything to discuss about him, a question for him? No?
No, again, it's similar to the last one.
It
It's
is.
just correcting an issue that happened years ago.
This is 3 lots, correct?
B.
It ended up being 3.
I did sell one of them in 2022, middle one. So it kind
That
of-
would be 19?
That would be, yes,
It's 3 lots total though, right?
yes,
This is just on the
Yes.
finding of facts.
Oh,
yes. I did have Sackett
Okay, I'll fix
and
it.
Brake survey it. What I ended up doing was the 5 acres, I ended shrinking it. It's a small house, they didn't need that much property with that home. And I tried to, the property's difficult, it's in 3 different towns, so I tried to keep
I
it
read
all
that.
in one town, so they wouldn't have issues with paying taxes.
See that?
When I saw that it was in 3 towns, I was like, how is it in 3 towns?
know.
And then looking at the map, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
Fairfield's got a weird little sliver in there.
they do.
Any more questions? We'll move on to the finding of facts.
No, I guess not.
The owner of the property is Troy and Jerry Blodgett. Applicant is Troy Blodgett with demonstrated legal interest in the property by providing a copy of the warranty deed, Somerset County, Book 2265, page 329, filed on 12/10/1996. The location of the property is 15 and 19 Bigelow Hill Road, Assessors Map 16, Lot 12, the 212 there, and 12-2 and 12-4.
Correct.
Contains Lot A, 2.5616 acres, 15 Bigelow Hill, and Lot B, 2.502 acres, 19 Bigelow Road. Both have existing homes on the land. Lot C is vacant land, which totals,
What was the total of that
Something-
vacant land that was
that one
left
didn't
in?
have a total.
55 acres, but that's in 3 towns.
But that sliver that's left in Fairfield, the vacant land, you told me how much that was at one point, but I can't remember.
It doesn't say how many acres is on it.
I believe that is, that would be around 15 acres,
15?
I believe so.
I think that's what you had told me. I thought I had written it down, but I didn't.
We'll have to add that, boy.
Yeah, I will. Got it.
The property is not located in a shoreland zone. Property is not in a flood area. The applicant proposes to subdivide the property into 4,
No, that's wrong. I'm sorry, 3. I'll fix that word.
3 lots. The completed plan application was submitted on November 16th, 2023. The public hearing was held today. Water is to be supplied by private well. Sewerage is a private septic. Site elevations for each lot meeting the requirements of the main plumbing rules were completed by and the systems installed 15 Bigelow Hill, 7/30/1999. 19 Bigelow Hill was 5/7/2013. See Form HHE 200. Pollution, there will be no pollution, water or air. The elevation of the land above sea level and its relevation to the floodplain's elevation, property is not within the floodplain. Nature of soils and subsoils and ability to adequate support waste disposal, the property will be served by the private septic system. Property is proposed to be used for residential use. Sufficient water, private water supply. Erosion, the proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or reduction in the land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results. Yes, the subdivision will not create erosion. Public erosion controls will be used during construction.
And there's no further construction at this time. It's already constructed.
Traffic, these are residential homes used on an existing public road. Sewage disposal is private septic systems. Municipal solid waste disposal, the subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on solid waste disposal. Authentic culture and natural values. The proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse impact on the area. This is a residential neighborhood and the subdivision has 2 residential dwellings. Conformity with local ordinance and plans. The proposed subdivision conforms to the adopted subdivision regulations and is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan to add residential dwellings. Financial and technical capacity. These homes are already constructed, no additional construction involved at this time. Surface water is not applicable, groundwater is not applicable, flood areas are not applicable, and there are no waivers requested. Do I have a motion to accept
I make a motion to accept the subdivision as presented.
with the 2 changes that they've got to add there for,
Right.
I'll second that.
all in favor? Good.
So do you want to take a recess and sign his plan so he can leave with his plan?
Sure.
And we can move on to the third one?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Take a brief recess while the planning board signs.
C, Echo Property Management. Any of the planning board members have questions or concerns about this?
It looked like there was going to be language included in the deeds to each of the three properties around future road maintenance.
Yeah.
Could you just touch upon that and how that's going to be agreed upon by all of the property owners? Is there going to be a road maintenance association? Is there going to be just a shared cost? Who's going to be responsible for hiring a
Sure.
plow person to come and plow the road or repair it?
Sure, so we're responsible out of the gate until there's an owner of Lot 1, and then we'll implement a fee, an association fee, until all three homes are sold. But we're responsible in that sequence, in that order. And it will be all the language, and I did share the document as far as the that statement, that proposed road statement, that will be included rather in all the deeds for each new homeowner.
I also read somewhere that it looked like the property owners were gonna own to the center of the road. The plan looks like the road isn't owned by any of the properties, as far as property pin locations.
So we were gonna, that was the language that we were gonna institute in each deed, but again, up until that time at which there was ownership, we were, Echo, our business will be responsible for the road maintenance. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well, who's gonna
already did
have
it.
ownership of the road? Because it looks like, I read somewhere, and
Sure.
maybe I'm making it up in my mind. In the private road maintenance statement, it shows Echo Property Management will deed each lot to the center line of the private roadway, Edward Court, with a shared road maintenance plan outlined above. In the plan that we have, it looks, and this could be wrong, but it looks like the property lines are not to the center of the roadway, and the roadway itself would be almost a separate lot.
So, I'm open to feedback there. I mean, we would ensure that there's the appropriate percentage for each owner, and we would make sure that wording is stated in a deed. But if there's something that we need to do to revise that, happy to do so.
Well, you're only gonna hold the maintenance of that road during
Correct.
development.
Correct.
So if the intent is to deed to the center
To
line
the pin.
of road,
Yep.
then it should be reflected on the map, is what you're saying.
That's what I think. I think that if the
Because
intent...
it is, right now, currently, it's a lot unto itself.
Correct, but
Okay.
what he's explaining is they have ownership of the road right now until they develop and sell the lot, and as he deeds each lot, he's saying that the written word of the deed, he's going to release his interest in that road, but he still wants to be able to travel down it and develop the other two lots. If he develops Lot 1 first, he wants to just deed the road in segments in the written word, not deed it right away.
So is the road going to be an easement? Is there going to be an easement over the road for you to develop the back parcel?
We will have to include that language so yes, we're going to have to do so.
It just seems that the plan is going to be, it's going to at least reflect differently when looking at the plan as opposed to the deeds, because the property lines as indicated on the plans aren't going to reflect the deed. If your eventual
Okay.
plan is to deed over to to the center line of the roadway for these parcels.
Okay. Honestly, we will make any necessary and appropriate adjustment needed to ensure that there's clarity for each of the new lots and new homeowners.
Unless
So-
you intend to keep the roadway as owned by Echo Properties, then that's what me looking at this plan it shows.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be better to have the road separate instead of having, I live on this side of the road, you take care of that side?
No, it makes
You
sense
just
to
make
me.
it one road, you're all responsible for the road.
So once each new owner is in place, so three new homeowners, there's the percentage, that the homeowners are going to be able to control and vote upon what is needed for respective maintenance and equally share that 3 ways.
It'll be in their deed,
Correct.
but it's not drawn that way now.
Right, that's my only concern, is that the plan isn't reflecting what the final deeds will show
Okay.
for lot lines.
As a code officer, I like the way the plan is because it shows where the intended property line, that there, and the setback to the structure is measured from how they have it drawn. So if they show those pins to the center of the road, then are they going to get their house closer to the road? Because now it's not defined where it's meant, where their real estate ends and their setback needs to be. So that's just.
Now, in the end, you always go by the deed, correct? Not actually a map. You go by the written deed for the lines and everything. Or do you?
Correct, right. A written deed will say that their property line stops at that point that they've identified, and then they do have joint ownership in what is defined as the roadway.
Yeah.
The way I'm reading the road maintenance statement, it's saying that they won't have joint ownership. It will be Lot 1 owns the southern half of the roadway. And there'll be an easement to provide access across that property for lots 2 and lot 3, as well as Echo Property Management for future development in the rear parcel.
Okay.
So maybe that needs to be rewritten, the statement?
Would you,
To clarify when the third home is complete, and there's the third homeowner, and we are at the end of development and construction, it will be the responsibility of there will be a shared road maintenance among the 3 units. So there's equal share 33, 33, 33 for all three homes.
Echo Properties at that point has no longer any use for that road.
That is correct.
but
They
you,
own no more property beyond these 3 lots.
That is correct. But up until that development, up until that third home we're responsible. Until that third home, and there's an owner in that third home, we are responsible to ensure all the way through that road maintenance is kept up and maintained.
so you don't intend to keep an easement for
Only during
Echo Property
construction.
Management to access this roadway forever?
I misspoke. At the end, when the third home is sold, we will not have any ownership of the
Be
respective.
the 3 owners.
I'm sorry?
It'll be the 3 owners.
And
That-
only the
that's
3
correct.
owners?
Correct.
And the language will be an easement along the private roadway for the homeowners to pass and maintain.
It will be upon the homeowners to determine, correct, moving forward.
Well, the homeowners won't be determining the easement language. That's something that will have to be put up front in the deed.
The deed will state that very specifically, that the 3 homeowners are all, at the end, when the third home is developed, the 3 homeowners will be responsible for road maintenance. And
I just want to make sure that once this road is complete and the homeowners have part of the road owned in their parcel, that person can't say, okay, lot 2 and lot 3, you can no longer travel across my parcel. So there's got to be some sort of easement language in there for a 60-foot right-of-way or 40-foot wide paved right of way, whatever it is, that distance has to have some sort of ability to be utilized by all in the subdivision.
That is critical for me to ensure, and us to ensure that that's in the deed.
And that'll be in their deed.
In the
part of
deed.
their deeds.
In the deed, yes.
Does that sound right
If-
to you, Nicole?
It does, yes. And the road is,
Apologize for any confusion.
the road is defined where they want it.
Yes, it is.
Right, and that's not to become someone's front lawn. That is defined as where their pin is going to stop and where the roadway access is intended to be.
Yeah, because there's a lot of deeds written up where the map does not show you have a right-of-way, a shared right-of-way, but yet your deed tells you you have a shared right-of-way onto different properties, so it's kind of the same thing, I guess. You okay with that, Max?
Seems messy, but if Nicole likes it.
She's the one that has to enforce it.
I'm the one that needs to enforce on it,
Right.
but it makes sense to me, the way it's drawn. I mean, I wouldn't want to see the pin set to the center of the road,
No, I would think so.
and they're not ready to transfer title, so they obviously don't have their language completed for deed transfer yet.
Yeah, they'd have to get a lawyer to write it up probably
Correct.
correctly in a
Right.
deed.
And they're not at that point yet. But I will get a copy of it once that transfer happens.
Right.
Does our subdivision ordinance require that property pins be set at all inflection points of the property?
No, just the corners, and it is all marked. If you've driven by it, it's all staked out.
Yeah, not for right now, but.
Right.
Because there won't be pins placed at the corners of the property, according to this plan. Or they're going to be pins placed within the roadway area, or somehow.
The pins will still be in the same place, won't they? It's just, the deeds will be written up with a language saying that all three of them have the shared responsibility of the road. There won't be any
Right.
pins there.
The responsibility of the road, that I have no qualms with. It's the fact that the plan isn't gonna show the actual extent of the property lines. And is that going to cause issues in the future? And if the written language trumps the plan, then I'll be okay with it.
So the corners of each of the lots are defined, and then the language in the deed will show the transfer of the road ownership to each individual lot with maintenance. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the plan does show the corners of each lot.
Yeah. I
And then-
suggest if Nicole's satisfied with it, she's the one that has to enforce it, that we kind of accept her.
I mean, we realistically haven't seen anything legally saying that they're gonna go to the center of the roadway, yet, other than.
It won't until they have a deed
Statement.
made up, written up. We have a lot of saying what they anticipate doing.
Correct. So until they transfer
Till they have it.
property,
Right.
right, their attorney will draft it as it should be legally to release their interest in the roadway and to equally share it, all three lots to share.
And we have that letter,
Yeah.
and that is part of the submittal.
I'm not knowledgeable enough about the legality of it to state whether that's correct, because it looks as though there'll be ownership of the roadway, and then there would be an easement across it for everybody to utilize. And the maintenance of the road itself, regardless of property lines, will be the responsibility of the homeowners association, is what I am gathering.
And it's critical that we certainly provide that respective information in the deed upon final deed to ensure that accuracy. So for each and every new homeowner, there's no confusion in the written copy of the deed.
Yep.
Okay? Anything else?
Another question I had was around the water supply for the subdivision.
Yep.
Do you intend to do any sort of testing for PFAS for these wells that are gonna be drilled? And if there are levels of PFAS that are above the recommended amount, are you planning to put in filtration systems as part of the construction?
Yes, so to date, we've done all the test pits and so forth to ensure that locations are accurate and so forth, and everything meets requirements, but yes, we do need to test, and we'll take appropriate measures as needed, pending test results.
And we have the right size, based on the proposed size of the buildings, we have an appropriate filtration system in mind for to address that issue if it arises.
And the entire roadway is gonna be paved, right? Or is it planning to be dirt?
Honestly, we have not finalized that decision on paving, but we were leaning that direction.
They just have-
Certainly from a certainly it would not be done until at the end.
Right.
But they have to build a certain width for the fire trucks to get up there
Correct.
and all that.
There's, right, a minimum requirement that they intend to construct.
But it doesn't have to be paved.
Correct.
No, my concern with not having pavement would be the apron onto Old County Road. I'm not sure if our Public Works Director was anticipating this road to be paved or not. And if it was to be gravel, would our Public Works Director have concern about tracking of gravel and rocks out into Old County Road?
He did submit a memo to the planning board that he did not have any concerns about it.
Yeah,
the
I see that.
location.
Yeah,
So-
but I'm not sure if our Public Works Director assumed it would be paved or gravel.
No, he knows it's a private road, and private roads are not required to be paved. So his answer would have been based on his knowledge of knowing that private driveways that serve 3 dwelling units, it's not a requirement that they're paved.
I would put in a condition of approval that we would require any portion of the roadway within the public right-of-way for Old County Road to be paved. So that would be the apron of the private roadway into the public roadway.
For how deep is your proposal? How deep is the
How
pavement?
far off the road?
To the edge of the right-of-way for Old County Road. So
Okay.
on the plan where the property line
So,
to the east.
okay, so what Public Works points out to be the edge of the town's right-of-way.
Correct.
So if it's 10 feet or 12 feet in,
Correct.
is your proposal? Okay. So that's just your suggestion as a
That's
condition?
just my suggestion to be decided by.
Most of our roads aren't like that though, are they? I mean, our road wasn't for 50 years.
Well,
30 years.
It's a suggestion he's
I
putting
don't know.
forward.
Is that part of the,
I think that it's for the safety of our residents to make sure that rocks and debris aren't tracked into Old County Road to the extent that we can as a board. Whether that's done that way in every other subdivision that's happened years in the past.
I've never done
Unlikely,
that.
but moving forward, we have that ability to make that requirement.
Wouldn't that have been something you should put in the ordinance? If that was the intent.
Well, we
He's just
haven't-
making a suggestion.
Yeah, we
but
haven't
it's-
reviewed the subdivision ordinance around road construction.
so that would that be part of finding the facts? Would I have that?
Correct. It's a condition he's putting forward as a suggestion. You as a board can either support his condition, the suggestion, or not support it. It's just, he's just having a discussion
Okay.
about it, of his
Right.
feelings.
I mean, you see gravel roads all over the place with traffic coming in and out of them that bring debris during
Oh, yeah.
plowing events, just normal driving. Having some sort of paved apron will cut down on that debris making its way into a town of Fairfield-owned public road that is paved and has significantly more traffic than Edward Court has proposed. So it's just gonna prevent rocks or Will it prevent it all? Probably not, because it's only within the Old County Road right of way, but anything is better than nothing, in my opinion.
Anything else? Nothing else, we'll move on to finding the facts. Owner of the property is Echo Property Management, LLC. The applicant is Ted Mitchell, representative for Echo Property Management, LLC, who has demonstrated a legal interest in the property by providing a copy of the warranty deed, Somerset County Book 6070, page 238, 10/27/2023. The location of the property is Old County Road, Assessors Map 3, Lot 14A, contains 3 lots, land totals 2.7 acres in Fairfield. The property is not located in a shore zone, land zone. The property is not in a flood zone. The applicant proposes a subdivide the property into 3 lots. Lot 1 is .916 acres, Lot 2 is .756 acres, Lot 3 is .712 acres. The completed plan application was submitted on November 21st, 2023. A public hearing was held tonight. Water is to be supplied by private well. Sewer will be a private septic system that's tested on the site. Elevator report submitted with the application. Site elevations for each lot meeting the requirement of the main plumbing rules were completed and submitted with the application. The proposed subdivision will not result in undue water or air pollution. The elevation of the land above sea level and its relation with the floodplain elevation, the property is not within the flood zone plan. The nature of soils and subsoils, their ability to adequately support waste disposal, the property will be served by private septic systems. The development will not cause any air pollution. Sufficient water, municipal water supply, the proposed subdivisions has sufficient water available for the reasonable foreseeable needs of the subdivision. For private wells will serve the 3-lot subdivision. Erosion, the subdivision will not create any erosion. Proper erosion controls will be used during construction. Traffic, a statement from the Director of Public Works, and the entry location is adequate and safe entry and exit from Old County Road for a 3-lot residential use. Sewage disposal, the site elevator report shows test pits for septic system to adequately support sewage waste disposal. Municipal solid waste disposal, the subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on solid waste disposal. Aesthetic, culture, and natural values, the proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse impact on the area. This is a residential neighborhood and the subdivision proposes additional residential dwellings. Conformity with local ordinance and plans, the proposed subdivision conforms to the adopted subdivision regulations and is consistent with the Fairfield Comprehensive Plan to add residential dwellings. Financial and technical capacity, see letter from the plant showing financial and technical capacity. Surface water is non-applicable, groundwater non-applicable, flood area is non-applicable. There are no waiver requests, but there is a suggestion that we have a paved road to the right-of-way of the town.
Right, a paved apron to the extent of the town's right-of-way for Old County Road. So I would make a motion, we approve the subdivision as presented with the condition that the apron for the proposed Edward Court, I think it is, within the town's right-of-way for Old County Road.
Any comments?
So, suppose we accept it as is presented. If we don't have the means to, in my opinion, force this apron upon all subdivisions, we shouldn't be picking on this guy.
I don't agree with Max, only to the point that it's not in our
Ordinance?
ordinance,
Agreed.
and I don't know if we can try to force someone to do something that's not in our ordinance.
If it was a standard driveway entry standard of needed an apron of 12 feet deep or 15 feet deep, then I would certainly be on board with it. But if it's something that we can't universally enforce across the board, then
Well, I
I don't
think we
think we
have
can-
the,
I don't think we have the proper scenario to pick and choose. Not saying that we would,
no, I
but
mean,
we
I
might
would,
forget it the next
this is
time around.
something that I
with
would
the next
propose
applicant.
we do
And then we're not applying,
on all subdivisions. I mean, we can't obviously go back and force this upon somebody else. I mean, realistically, when the next time the town
well, I think it should
pays
be in the
Old County-
ordinance for these people to see that it's a requirement.
I agree.
I don't think, I think that would be the most fair approach.
I understand what you're saying, Max, I really do.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's a bad idea.
It's
I don't
not.
think it's a bad idea. I just think that if that is what you want to see done in the future, it should be
So in
amended to the ordinance.
access, location, and spacing, I mean, I'm not sure this is exactly where it needs to be, but it does say, all accesses shall be paved with bituminous concrete pavement within the street right-of-way. All commercial accesses, regardless of access volume, shall be paved with bituminous concrete
But
pavement.
that's not commercial.
Right,
Yeah.
it's residential
residential.
use.
I saw the same thing in commercial. I was looking really quick. but-
Commercial does require that.
In reviewing applications for a subdivision, the board shall consider the following general standards and make findings that each has met prior to the approval of the final plan. I'm not seeing where it's just for commercial.
I thought you just read it was commercial. The one you read was commercial.
That's how I read it when I was looking at it myself. Because we certainly don't require all subdivisions to be paved.
No.
No, and I'm not proposing that we require
No, you're
the
making a
subdivision to
suggestion.
be
We
paved.
can make a suggestion that we can't put that on as a requirement on the,
I mean, I'm not seeing where it's saying that this, I'm seeing that it is a requirement. So this is our general standards for reviewing applications for a subdivision. So I'm not seeing anything around commercial.
the way they say that it has to be paved.
Right here. Construction materials paving. All accesses shall be paved with bituminous concrete pavement within the street right-of-way, which is what I've proposed.
What page is that, Max?
This is page 32. All commercial accesses, regardless of access volume, shall be paved with bituminous concrete pavement within 30 feet.
But that
of the
almost,
street right-
because they say commercial, almost sounds like that is commercial, not
For residential.
residential.
I'm looking at this as saying, all accesses shall be paved with bituminous concrete pavement within the street right-of-way, regardless, no matter what. For commercial accesses, regardless of access volume, shall be paved with bituminous concrete pavement within 30 feet of the street right-of-way. So if it's a commercial subdivision or commercial property, then you need to go 30 feet back regardless of where the property line ends or the street right-of-way ends. But for all subdivisions, within the street right-of-way, it must be paved, is how I'm reading that. And I think that's how this is intended to be read. Whether it's been applied in the past, I can't say.
Well, I don't think it has been.
It has not been, that I know, because I go to many subdivisions in town, and they're not paved at,
And if the city street wasn't paved, then I would obviously not be saying that a little strip should be paved, but Old County Road is a public right-of-way that is paved. Our ordinance says to do it, in my opinion, that's how I'm reading it. And I think that it's for the safety of the community that it's paved to what the ordinance allows us to enforce.
That may be something we have to take to the town council to get their opinion on it, how it's worded and how they, because they're the ones that approve all these, correct?
the ordinances and revisions.
We write them if they approve them.
Yeah, right, right.
I mean, would the developer be willing to pave, even if you decide to move forward with a gravel road, would you be willing to pave the full, or the apron of the roadway within the public right-of-way?
Certainly if it's a requirement.
And is it defined as asphalt or aggregate or?
It's called out as bituminous concrete pavement, so asphalt.
I think I'd make a motion that we bring this up at another meeting and discuss it, and let
Could
the
I-
fellas go with the same procedure the rest of them had.
Could we ask
I don't think we ought to change things.
what if we ask the Public Works Director for their opinion, if they want it to be paved or not?
Yeah, I think it's something we should probably,
I think the
Discuss
Public
it.
Works Director, I think he even said he visited the site on this one.
Yeah, he
correct?
did.
Yes, he has.
Right, but it
I'd
did,
like to see this gentleman walk out of here